Good afternoon, dear students. My name is Katie, and I'm an English teacher in the secondary municipal school, Mirceacev in Prilep. Today, I'm going to be your English teacher, and what we are going to talk about today is a little bit grammar. So we are going to talk about present simple tense versus present continuous tense. Well, sometimes it can be very confusing for Macedonian speakers, for Macedonian learners. Why there are two different present tenses in English, while on the other hand there is only one present tense in Macedonian language. What is correct? What to use? Is it I work or I'm working? Is it he works or he's working? So let's start from the beginning. Well, on my left side, I have here the present simple tense in red letters, red color, and on the other side, that is my right, present continuous tense in green letters. Let's first see how do we form them. Well, you can notice here that there are two verbs that are circled, do and be. It's very, very important to remember that these two are auxiliary verbs, and the auxiliary do is always used with simple tenses, and auxiliary be is always used with continuous tenses. So as short formulas given here, let's start first with present simple. Well, you have subject, and then you add the verb, and you add the suffix as to the verb, but not to all persons. Okay, so from what you can see here is that for persons, I, you, we, and they, you just add the main verb without any suffixes. But when it comes to the third person singular, he, she, it, what we do is we add the suffix as to the main verb. So when you make the negative form, what you do is you add the negative word not to the auxiliary. And then for all persons, you have do not or don't, except for the third person singular, where you have does not or doesn't. Why do we have the suffix here? According to the rule we mentioned before, that you add the suffix es to the verb in the third person singular, and the auxiliary verb here is the first verb that comes in the sentence. So that is why we add es to it, and which means that we omit it from the base form of the verb. When we make questions or interrogative form, okay, what we make is we change places of the subject and the auxiliary verb. So your questions for I, you, we, and they will start with the auxiliary do, while when it comes to the third person singular, then you use does. When we talk about the present continuous tense, as you can see, even in the affirmative form, the auxiliary verb is present. That is to say, what we use? We use the forms of the verb to be for present tense. That is am for first person singular, are for the plural, and you as a second person in singular, and is for he, she, that is to say third person singular. You also notice here that the suffix ing is added to the word for all persons. So if you want to make a negative form here, you just add not to the present form of to be. I am not, you are not, he is not. And the suffix ing goes to the main verb, as we said, for all persons in singular and plural. An interrogative form, okay, you also, again, you change places of the subject and the auxiliary verb. Just to mention here is that sometimes in the spelling, there are certain changes. For example, in present simple, to the most of the verbs, we just add the suffix s without any change. But to verbs which end in ss, sh, ch, z, x, and o, we add es instead of just s. For example, he fishes a lot. Words that end in consonant plus y, for example, like cry. In this case, you change y into I, and then you add the suffix es. But this is not the case when the word ends in vowel plus y. For example, like here, like in say. Okay, so in this case, you just add the suffix s without any changes. When it comes to the present continuous tenses, verbs here are divided in several groups. For example, the first group are verbs that end in e, like believe, have, leave. Okay, so what we do here is drop the final e before adding the suffix s. In the second group, we have one-syllable verbs that end in CVC, that is consonant, verb, consonant, like sit, for example. And what we do here is we double the final consonant and then we add the suffix ing. The third group, here we have two or more syllable verbs that end in CVC, that was again consonant, vowel, consonant. And again here, you double the final consonant if the last syllable is stressed. And the last final group here is verbs ending in IE. What you do here is you change IE to Y before you add the suffix ing. What is really important about these two tenses is how to use them. So let's start again with present simple tense. Present simple is usually used for permanent situations or describe facts. For example, she lives in Buenos Aires. Then we also use it for habits or routines. For example, she has lessons on Monday afternoons. For future events, but maybe it is easier to remember that it is used for timetabled events. For example, like the train arrives at 6. And to tell stories, you may also add here instead of tell stories when you describe as a chain of events. She goes to the door, opens it, and the monster pops up. On the other hand, you use present continuous for temporary situations. For example, she is staying in the Ritz Hotel. Then you use it for actions happening at the moment of speaking. He is wearing his blue sweater. For planned future events, we are visiting her family next week. For repeated actions that annoy you, children are always shouting. Okay? Well, from this chart, I want you to pay attention to the bolded words that are actually adverbs of time that are used with simple and continuous. And in this third part of the chart, okay, you can see some incorrect mixing. For example, I see Sarah every morning. Well, every morning is one of the adverbs that can be used here. And we also use adverbs of frequency, like always, often, usually, never, sometimes, okay? When we talk about present continuous tense, we use tomorrow. I'm seeing Sarah tomorrow, this year, tonight, this week, now, at the moment, at the present, etc. But make sure that you don't mix these two tenses. For example, I see Sarah tomorrow. You cannot use the verb in present simple with an adverb that goes with present continuous like tomorrow. Okay, so just take a look at the chart and pay attention to all of the parts. Well, one more thing to mention here. So there are groups of verbs. They are divided here so you can remember them easier. Stative verbs. Verbs that describe states and are not usually used in continuous tenses. For example, good and easy way to remember them is, okay, let's see, for example, the first group of verbs are verbs that describe feelings like, dislike, love, hate, prefer, want, need, mind, care, etc. Thoughts and opinions: know, think, understand, believe, guess, mean, etc. Senses: feel, hear, see, smell, sound, taste, touch, look. Possession: belong, own, have. Measure, cost, and others: cost, measure, weigh, owe, seem, be, appear, consist. Well, I'll give you here 5 verbs that can be used as both stative and dynamic, with examples, of course. Be is usually a stative verb, but when it is used in the continuous form, it means behaving or acting. For example, if you say you're stupid, okay, means it's part of your personality. But if you say you're being stupid, means only now, not usually. Next verb is think. Think as a stative verb means to have an opinion. I think that coffee is great. Or think as dynamic means to consider or have in my head. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about my next holiday. Have is the next verb. Have is the stative, means own, to own something. Like I have a car. Or have is dynamic verb, means part of an expression. I'm having a party, or I'm having a picnic. I'm having a bath, etc. Okay? See as a stative verb means something to see with your eyes or to understand. For example, I see what you mean means I understand what you mean. Or I see her now. She's just coming along the road. And see as dynamic means to meet or to have a relationship with. I've been seeing my boyfriend for 3 years. I'm seeing Robert tomorrow. Taste as a stative verb means has a certain taste. For example, this soup tastes great. The coffee tastes really bitter. And taste as dynamic is actually the action of tasting. The chef is tasting the soup. And the same goes for the verb smell. Okay, now let's do a short exercise together. Okay, so this is a sentence, and in the brackets you have always and taste. So try to put the verb in the correct form, which means you have to use it in present simple or in present continuous. Always try to find something in the sentence that will help you. Okay? Well, maybe it is very annoying. Do you remember which of these 2 tenses was used for something that annoys you? Of course, that was present continuous. So my husband is always tasting the food while I'm cooking. It's very annoying. Okay? She have a bath every evening. Since this action repeats every evening, yes, you guess, the answer is has. Present simple. Look, see the doctor now. Very good. Okay, since you already have now, which means that the action is happening at the moment of speaking. So, is seeing the doctor now? Which means Luke is meeting the doctor now. He have a party next week. Here we have a future plan action for the next week. So it's present continuous tense. Is having a party next weekend. The fifth sentence. This coffee not taste right. Okay, so here we have an opinion. So it should be doesn't taste right. Number 6. We see John and Susie next month. Okay, so think about it. Okay, pay attention to the adverbs. Okay, so we are seeing John and Susie next month. What do you think about the war? So, not what are you thinking now, but you need an opinion. So, it should be present simple. What do you think about the war? She have a headache. Okay? Yeah, it should be she has a headache. It be cold today. So, you need some form of the verb to be here. And that should be is. It is cold today. And the last sentence, they not have a car. And of course, the correct answer would be they don't have a car. Dear students, I hope that you've learned something today, and I hope that it will be much clearer to use these two tenses. Thank you for your attention and have a nice day.